Breaking news, folks. Last week I announced that the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, here in the United States, after I contacted them with a question about what is going to happen given that on October 1st, 2026, Medicaid is no longer available to refugees as a consequence of the Big Beautiful Bill. I asked them that question over a week ago, and last week in response, just after the 4th of July, they informed me that they intended to increase refugee medical assistance from 4 months to 8 months. Now that was interesting news, and I've shared that story on my nightly broadcast and my news broadcast. But breaking news today, the Federal Register reports that in fact this has been done. The Office of Refugee Resettlement announces a change in the eligibility period for Refugee Cash Assistance and Refugee Medical Assistance pursuant to ORR regulations. The ORR director has determined that the RCA and RMA eligibility period will be increased from 4 months to 8 months. This change is intended to support the effective resettlement of refugees and other ORR eligible populations and assist them in achieving economic self-sufficiency consistent with the requirements of the Refugee Act of 1980 while maintaining efficient use of federal resources. This is very good news for South African refugees in particular, many of whom have seen the shifting resources or limited resources available to refugees on arrival become a significant challenge for them. As I said, the Office of Refugee Resettlement has officially increased the eligibility period for both Refugee Cash Assistance, RCA, and Refugee Medical Assistance, RMA, from 4 months to 8 months. This updated policy went into effect immediately upon its publication on the 14th of July, 2026. ORR adjusted the time frame based on shifting arrival trends, projected expenditures, and available federal appropriations. This expansion aims to support effective resettlement and help refugees achieve long-term self-sufficiency. It reverses a March of 2025 rule that had drastically shortened the timeline to just 4 months to avoid severe budget shortfalls. Historically, the benefit spanned 8 months for decades before briefly expanding to 12 months in 2022 under Biden and bankrupting the U.S. government. State agencies and local replacement designees have a 30-day window to implement the necessary software and operational adjustments to match the new 8-month guideline. Individuals who initially received fewer than 8 months of assistance under the old rule can be granted additional months of coverage up to the 8-month maximum, provided they still meet the standard program criteria, which of course means if you have income, it is adjusted pro rata based on the income. So if you've been in the U.S. for a year now and you only got 4 months of assistance, you have a job, you have medical insurance, and you are beyond the income threshold, then you won't get those additional months. States have the authority to issue retroactive cash or medical payments for any gaps within an individual's eligible 8-month arrival window, so long as they met the program requirements. So if you don't meet it now, but 4 months last year or early this year didn't get that assistance, yet you were still eligible, you can now get it. This is very good news for South African refugees and any future refugees coming to America. This program was abused by the Biden administration horrifically, and now the Trump administration, after a period of adjustment, is coming to realize that it is ludicrous to expect people that we welcome into our country and then delay their employment authorization documents, social security numbers, and subject them to unfriendly refugee agencies who hinder their progress instead of helping them. It is unrealistic for those people to achieve self-sufficiency in a matter of weeks. This extends to a period of 8 months and is likely to ensure that many more refugees become self-sufficient within that window. And quite frankly, for refugees, if you can't find a job and a place to live and become self-sufficient within 8 months, then what are you up to? What are you up to? What do you say, folks? Good news for refugees, eh? Breaking news out of the U.S.